In the early 1950s, driven by intense Cold War anxiety, the United States government began a secret program to drug and experiment on its own citizens. The CIA became convinced that the Soviet Union had discovered a way to bypass human will, a concept they called brainwashing. These fears were fueled by frontline reports of American prisoners of war who were reportedly being broken psychologically, forced to make false confessions, and pushed to denounce their own country. Officials believed that if the Soviets mastered the mind, the United States would lose the war. This panicked logic sparked a secret psychological arms race. Research that began as a defensive study under Project Bluebird in 1950 quickly shifted, and by 1951, Project Artichoke was actively seeking ways to force confessions and command human behavior through chemicals. In 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles merged these efforts into one massive top-secret operation with a $10 million budget, the modern equivalent of $90 million, designated as MKUltra, and led by chemist Sidney Gottlieb. Gottlieb's mission was to find a method to control a human being to the point where they would act against their own basic survival instincts. MKUltra functioned through 159 sub-projects hidden inside 80 different institutions, including universities and hospitals. Behind these walls, the CIA treated LSD as a weapon, blindly dosing mental patients, prisoners, and even employees without consent. One of the most aggressive tactics was Operation Midnight Climax, where the CIA established safe houses in San Francisco and New York. They used prostitutes to lure men into rooms wired for surveillance, secretly spiked their drinks with LSD, and watched from behind one-way mirrors to take notes on their behavior. These ordinary citizens were treated as disposable data points by their own government. In Montreal, the CIA funded Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron, who believed he could cure mental illness by de-patterning the human brain, essentially wiping it clean. Cameron subjected patients to psychic driving, which involved weeks of drug-induced sleep, electroshock therapy at 30 times the normal intensity, and recorded messages played on a loop for 16 hours a day. The results were devastating. Patients who arrived with mild anxiety lost the ability to speak, forgot their own children, and regressed to childlike states from which many never recovered. The human cost eventually reached the CIA's own ranks. In 1953, an army biochemist named Frank Olson was secretly dosed with LSD by Sidney Gottlieb during a work retreat. Following a severe psychological reaction, Olson traveled to New York for treatment, but on November 28th, he fell to his death from a 10th-floor hotel window. The CIA officially ruled it a suicide, and it took 22 years for Olson's family to learn he had been drugged. A later exhumation of his body found evidence of a blow to the head that occurred before the fall, leaving the case of his death officially unresolved. By the 1970s, MKUltra was winding down as years of human experimentation had failed to produce a reliable method of mind control. However, the agency still held thousands of incriminating documents. In 1973, in the wake of the Watergate scandal, CIA Director Richard Helms feared total exposure and ordered the immediate destruction of every file related to MKUltra. The cover-up was nearly successful, but in 1977, a financial record search in a mislabeled storage facility uncovered 20,000 pages of MKUltra documents that had been missed by the shredders. This discovery led to 1977 Senate hearings, where the CIA was forced to admit to the public that it had systematically drugged and experimented on unconsenting Americans. The surviving records revealed experiments with heroin, barbiturates, extreme sensory deprivation, and attempts to use hypnosis to create false memories. Despite the admission and the thousands of pages of evidence, no one was ever prosecuted. Sidney Gottlieb retired to his home and died in 1999 without ever facing a courtroom. What we know of Project MKUltra today comes only from the fragments the CIA could not destroy, representing just a fraction of the original files. Most of the details concerning the 149 official subprojects remain lost because of the 1973 purge. Some researchers believe the program didn't actually end in 1973, but instead transitioned into deeper, untraceable projects moved beyond the reach of federal oversight. MKUltra stands as a documented example of what a government is capable of doing when absolute secrecy is applied to human experimentation, leaving us to wonder what else they haven't admitted to.